This has been an experience that I will never forget. I have been through a lot, but I still managed to push through and succeed. This, of course, was with the help of everyone who was there for me. I'm infinitely grateful for every resource that I had to assist me as I did assignment after assignment after assignment. Let me take a moment to thank the top contributors of them all. Google, Quizlet, my friends that always hook me up with the answers for the homeworks, ChatGPT. No, I'm just playing. But for real though, to all my teachers and family members who are watching this video, thank you! I couldn't be more grateful for everything that you've done for me and everyone else. Y'all awesome. Alright, enough of this. Yeah, so I graduated from school. About time, alright? Now I gotta worry about college and my life after that, and our worsening economy making it harder for people to buy houses. Got me messed up if you think I'm paying an arm and a leg just to live. Anyways, yeah. Expect video uploads to be much less frequent now that I actually have stuff to be doing. And also I'm going on vacation over the summer. Anyways, before I go on break for an undefined time, let's talk about some school subjects. I've been meaning to make a school subject video after I graduate, so here it bloody is. This video is going to contain every subject that I have something to say about. So if you took a subject and you didn't find this video, that's why. It's going to be my take on everything. You know, how I feel about it, experiences that you probably also had with these subjects, the jokes that I want to make about these subjects, me being stupid, the usual. If you watch my videos, you know what kind of person I am. But before we begin, we have to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and you, yes, you, have to participate, or you get no credits for this class. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And to Russia, something about stands, One Direction, On God, Invisible, with the Liver Tree, and Justice Frog. And then he croaked. Yeah, something like that. Anyways, let's get the show on the road.
What ain't no country I ever heard of? They speak English and what? What? English, motherfucker! Do you speak it? Yes. Then you know what I'm saying. Yes.
I'm grouping all the English-related subjects into one big category because they're basically extensions of the same core subject. You know, literature, writing, English, reading, speaking, all of them. To me, English is one of the most consistent subjects in school. It was always about writing, grammar, and reading stuff anybody could genuinely bring themselves to give a fraction of a shit about through and through. It was that way and stayed that way, except throughout the years, it was just more of writing, grammar, reading stuff anybody could give a fraction of a shit. Me talking about it like this makes it seem like some effortless subject that was barely a challenge for me and most others, but let me tell you, I mean, it was, for the most part. You know, like grammar, bro, it's free. But like, at times, it was one of the most tedious subjects of all times. Like, bro, let me tell you about reading logs. A reading log is basically when you just read some books. It could be like a short book or some comic book or whatever. In my elementary school, they didn't care what book I read, so long as the book was a book, and wrote a paragraph summary of said books. First of all, I gotta read. Ain't nobody doing all. Second of all, I have to write about what I read. Third, I only get like 2 days to do all that. Sometimes they'd let us do it over the school week, but when it's over the weekends, it's just so much more daunting because we all know that homework over the weekend is just infinitely worse than doing the school week. You don't know how many times I was just minding my own business in class, not really thinking of much besides how I'm gonna spend the rest of my day. And then the teacher's talking about some, alright class, so over the weekend, you have to do this reading log that's like worth a bunch of your grade, so like, do it. Have a good weekend! Like having a good weekend is about to happen when I got homework to do over it. At that point, I'd rather just watch Stickman animations or whatever I did when I was in 5th grade and take the silent lunch when I got to school. The silent lunch is basically when you like eat in your classroom and you're not allowed to talk or else you get detention. Man, I wish my biggest worry nowadays is getting silent lunch. If anybody is currently in 5th grade and is watching this video for whatever reason, make sure no one is watching because I'm about to tell you something like the secret formula to make reading vlogs look like an absolute joke. Alright, so, the higher-ups don't want you to know this, but you can actually reuse books that you used 2 weeks ago or longer, and nothing will be done about it. They'll grade it as though you've jotted down like a brand new book they haven't done yet. Well, that's how it worked for me when I was in elementary. I don't know if it'll work for you. Just try your chances. It might work for you and allow you to focus on other subjects. Or give you more time to watch random bullshit on TikTok or whatever 5th graders do nowadays. Anyways, enough about reading vlogs, because that's like the least of what I got for y'all. Just wait till we get to research papers. Before that though, let's talk about assignments revolving around stuff that teachers make us read. Be it short passages or full-on plays like Romeo and Juliet or The Importance of Being Earnest or The Crucible. The version of The Crucible they made us read was a censored version where one of the main characters, Abigail Williams, was aged up to be 18, but in the original play, She was 12. She was gaslighted, manipulated, and starting riots at age 12, and went on to become a prostitute at age 16 and died at age 17. I could have gone my entire life without knowing that. Okay, let's talk about the assignments now. They were tedious, not because I had to write, but because I had to build up the dedication to read some obscure-ass piece of literature made by some obscure-ass author. Oh yeah, on a side note, what is up with these English teachers glazing the ever-living out of every author in existence? They're gonna give us a 7-8 passage, and the description of the author was gonna be like, "This author used to be renowned for his poetic storytelling that sparked the reader's minds with excitement upon reading." All that just for the story to be about some guy who got arrested for dropping some ice cream on a police officer's uniform. Like, bro, who's gonna tell these teachers that not everything has some sort of hidden meaning behind it? And then they're gonna have the gall to give you multiple choice questions, talk about some, where was the author born? Like, bro, those questions had me feeling so dumb. I already put myself through the effort and dedication of reading the passage. Why must I read information that doesn't relate to said passages? Why must I read more than what was initially required of me? So yeah, f those assignments with all my heart. The plays and books are also just those, but worse. Anybody reading about The Great Gatsby? I'm not sure to be about some simp ass nigga who wanted to get married to a married bitch. Like, bro, anybody got time for that? Then we got argumentative essays, which basically went one of two ways. The first of which being that they give you a subject and two sides to pick one side and argue for that side. And basically, in these assignments, you make an essay, introduction, thesis statement, hook, size 12, Times New Roman font, 2 number 9 large, number 6 with extra dip, 3 body paragraphs, counter blame, rebuttal, beat mat and Wii Sports, conclusion, the usual. Or they just make you do an essay about a book or play you read and be like, was this character right or was he or she crazy? The other way is where they give you your own topic to argue for a side. You can be like, Why to Love Ru is the best anime of all time, and get a 0 for the class. Same rules except you get to decide what you talk about. One crucial difference is that here you have to cite your sources from trusted websites. Very important that you don't use Wikipedia because people can change stuff there.
So it said over here that Vladimir Putin is the president of Russia. And I'm going to change it to say Volodymyr Zelensky is the president of Russia. Volodymyr Zelensky being the president of Russia. No one knows it's false.
Hey, this reminds me of something. Oh yeah, research papers. I said I was going to get into them, right? Yeah. God, these were a pain to do. I remember back in 9th grade when I did my first research paper about the history of desserts, and it was treachery. There's a lot of information that I already knew about set desserts from prior videos and posts or whatever, but I still have to find the website or article that I said what I already knew to the T, or I had to not write down the information because if I did, it would not have a source and I would get points off. It only got worse in the future years because on top of having to do research for sources, which already sucked donkey nuts, I had to verify the credibility of the person who posted that information. Like, bro, how the fuck? The amount of times I was searching for a source on Google Scholar and it took me to a PDF file that had nothing to do with my topic but mentioned something about it once, which is another rub of salt to the already burning wound. And if all that wasn't enough to make you go insane, how about having to do that on top of making sure your grammar throughout is nothing but the finest? If you were to err at any given circumstance, your behind will be struck with minus points expeditiously. Points deducted for Points deducted for lacketh of thine grammars. Yeah. Like people care about grammar these days. Bro, have you been on the internet? Nobody knows how to use this language anymore. Apparently I don't know how to use the language anymore either. The amount of grammatical errors that I see that nobody points out is insane. If this were an actual class, a majority of y'all would be getting like C's at most. Sometimes I can understand what people are saying with some effort, and other times I can't because their grammar is just non-existent. And I'm not saying that you should be that actually it's there, not there, since saying there in this scenario is simply nonsensical. Saying there they are makes no sense at all, since there is a possessive phrase meaning belonging to multiple people, which is being confused in this scenario with there, a prepositional phrase talking about someone or thing happening within a given distance.
These are words we're saying out loud with our mouths. What the is the difference?
Guy that no one wants to hang out with, but like do the bare minimum and have at least somewhat comprehensible grammar and spelling. Like it's not that hard, I assure you. English, actually a majority of subjects, after elementary and maybe middle school, is just outdated bullshit that was meant to prepare people for the world. Like 50 years ago. Well, okay, it's not completely obsolete. It can help with some things, like making yourself look good when applying for a job, or when you're freestyling with the boys and need to come up with some words that you can learn how to better use in a sentence with the help of the English classes.
You asked me 101 and I said 2 number 9, and I agreed to pay because I'm so benign. So I got AIDS.
Oh, and also, completely unrelated to anything English, but in one of my assignments, there was this dude who was shocked, and why does he kind of look like me?
Hold on, let me get this. Hold on. So he's like, alright, bet. Oh. No, I just put on a lighter color shirt. Okay, maybe this is better.
Corporate needs you to find the difference between this picture and this picture. Schoolism in general is outdated, but I won't be talking about that since this video is about school subjects and not school as a whole. Alright, feel like I've talked about English for long enough. Let's move on to the next subject.
Factor that. 4 minus 3. Perfect. Let's multiply that out. Negative 3 and 4, that's 9. Perfect. Okay, we'll cancel these 12s out. That will give us 16 minus 9.
Now, before I say anything about math, let me just say this. I know that math subjects like algebra, geometry, algebra 2, and calculus, and the sort, are used for technology and stuff we humans use in our everyday lives. iPhones, laptops, computers, all of it is thanks to these complicated math classes. I know that, so I don't want to hear anybody saying, well, these subjects aren't completely useless, you know, because I know they aren't. I'm just saying that a majority of the stuff they make us learn isn't useful information to retain for your average bloke. Alright. I think I've made my point clear. Let's go talk about math subjects now. Math is one of those subjects that I used to love when I was a kid. Basically, all of elementary school math was the stuff that I used to look forward to. There was a period of time where I was mostly excited to do schoolwork. Math was so simple. You know, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, fraction, decimals, x being used as the multiplication symbol instead of dot. Good old times, am I right? I remember when I was in 3rd grade, when I could answer basically any addition problem without a calculator. My classmates asked me, yo, what's 74 plus 74? And I answered 148 within less than 10 seconds. I was just like that. Everyone was gassing me up and making me feel like I was a genius. I knew how to solve problems while having fun, while seeing how it would benefit me in real life. That was the kind of math that made me want to genuinely take it seriously. I was basically doing myself a disservice by not bettering my math skills. But okay, maybe it wasn't that deep. Point is, math was fun. It was entertaining and had real-life applications to your average bloke, completely unlike how it became after the introduction of algebra. Bro, middle school math was the downfall of math. It was the downfall of my academic prowess overall, for real. I don't know, it's just that everything spiked up exponentially, pun unintended, in terms of difficulty to the point of me not wanting to try anymore. Why should I have to learn how to put everything in a graph like it's the only way to organize things that have to do with numbers? Information can be organized without graphs, so why must we treat it as though there's one and only one way to do everything? If you don't follow the mathematical rulings and methods some dude from centuries ago came up with, then your mathematical equation is invalid. Straight up marked as incorrect even if you got the correct answer. Oh, what's that? You managed to get the correct answer, but didn't do it in the overcomplicated way that we went over in class? Well, tough luck, chuckle fuck. Your answer was wrong because you didn't show your work correctly. How am I supposed to know you cheated or not if you didn't use the correct method that was passed down from around the time Beethoven was alive? And they told you to show your work?
What is 2 plus 2? 4. Okay, cool. How did you get the answer? Bro, what do you mean, how? I just added 2 with 2. Yeah, I get that. But, like, how did you get 4? What formula did you use? Bro, ain't no formula. It's just you get 2, and then you add 2 more. And then you get 4. Simple as that. Demonstrate it to me via the Pythagorean theorem. Otherwise, I'm not going to know how you got your answer. What if the answer was 5 and you simply made an error? How can I trust you if you don't show me a step-by-step procedure as to how you got 4, huh? This is the kind of stuff that every adult human person will ask you about, and if you don't know it, then you're going to be amongst the losers. And hey, it's just the truth.
Bro, high school math as a whole was just a pain. It'd be really cool if there was something to make it more interesting. Hey, that reminds me of the sponsor of this video, Brilliant.org. High school math was an absolute cakewalk after trying. No, I was playing. Man, I wish I got sponsored on this channel. Everything was just unnecessarily complicated to the point of me not even knowing how I could apply this to my everyday life anymore. Or anyone for that matter. I knew people did use this math, but not how. Like, for example, when the hell am I ever going to need to retain piecewise functions in my day-to-day life? Is that going to be a question that I'm going to have to answer for a job interview? All the answers you've been giving me were good so far. I am this close to making my decision to hire you. Before that, though, what is a piecewise function? Because if you don't know, I might just have to reconsider. And even after I do memorize an overcomplicated topic like piecewise functions, the next unit joins the party and proceeds to introduce more overcomplicated buffalo feces like the bro. Then we gotta learn about Pascal's triangle, dividing rational expressions, determining whether a sequence is arithmetic or geometric, matrices, the angle of depression being the thing the subject gives its students, conic sections, complex numbers, Euler's number, polynomials, Zorro, probability and combinations, and the unit circle. Like, bro, what? Yeah, so math kinda blows. It's just overcomplicated. Well, I feel like I'm repeating myself here. Hey, but at least now that I'm done with high school, I don't have to go back to the days of practicing Algebra 2 problems on Magoosh. Man. Math became so complicated that I didn't even notice until it was unrecognizable to what it was before. I miss when things were simple. I miss the old math, straight from the go math, 1, 2, 3, and 4 math, easy to follow the flow math. I hate the new math, read a bit and snooze math, x plus y minus z equals 2 math. I miss the low demand math, count with the hands math, back in the days where math didn't feel like a wasteland. I miss the easy math, the lemon squeezy math, sure it had some hard moments but mostly it was breezy math. I used to love math, I used to love math, love math, I used to love math.
Mass isn't actually escaping black holes. What's happening is that particles are snapping into existence near the black hole, and sometimes those antiparticles get sucked in past the Schwarzschild radius and remove energy from the black hole, effectively shrinking it. So what does all this have to do with Five Nights at Freddy's?
Alright, so for this segment of the video, you're gonna need a lab coat and some goggles. Now, I know these aren't goggles, but like, shut up. Today, we're gonna be mixing water with sodium chloride. It may be dangerous if you're a fucking idiot, so proceed with caution. Okay, sure, there are times where you need to use lab coats when combining chemicals, but like, mixing water with soap or salt or something else? Like, come on, bro. It's not that deep. It's not even halfway filled. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of corny jokes in this section of the video. Prepare yourselves. Science already started pretty hard, but at the time, it was manageable. Unlike nowadays, where nothing is manageable. We used to learn about inheritance on a surface level, the different Vors, the fact that the sun was actually like 1,000-something times larger than the Earth, the fact that we would be dead if we were on other planets, the layers of the Earth, smoking Smarties. What, you didn't do that with your friends? And many more fun stuff like that. Science was at like the perfect level of difficulty. It's kind of like math in that regard. In fact, it was so much like math to the point where we started using algebraic formulas in science. Excuse me, sir, I found some algebra in my science. Science is kind of a strange subject, in the sense that there are some interesting things, even once you get into high school. Don't get your hopes too high, though, because they'll find a way to ruin it. Example, monohybrid charts. They're really cool. Do you want to know what they call a square that's good at making puns? A Punnett square? You know, dominant and recessive genes. I mess with those. They were easy to grasp and were intriguing in the sense that whatever the recessive trait was, it always felt more unique. And then they introduced dihybrid traits. Yeah, what a way to take a perfectly fine concept and make it unnecessarily complicated. It's like, yeah, we're gonna find the genotypes for 2 traits at the same time. Science, baby! This is the problem I have with high school science. They just overanalyze everything. Whenever there's a perfectly good concept, they just keep adding more to the point where I get things mixed up way more than I get them right. Then we got some scientists who are credited for discovering the stuff we know of today, such as Mr. Got Bonked by an Applehead, aka Isaac Newton, Mr. JoJo's reference, aka John Dalton, and the fish from Gumball, aka Charles Darwin, and Mr. 160 IQ himself, who was so smart that he redefined physics, but can't redefine what it's like to hold a steady relationship, aka Albert Einstein. They're all known for their own things, yeah. Isaac discovered gravity, so before him, everyone was just flying around like in Minecraft creative mode, but then he ruined it by creating the laws of motion. An object that rests stays at rest, while an object in motion stays in motion. Looking at. That's why you lived your entire life getting no bitch. John Dalton founded the atomic theory, which was basically the predecessor of the models of atoms we see today. Charles Darwin made the evolution theory that was basically just, so human come from fish, which become monkey, which become Homo sapien, also known as human. That was an extremely dumbed down version of the theory of evolution. If you want to learn more, then I am not your guy. Then there's Albert Einstein, who made contributions to quantum physics, but couldn't make contributions to his relationships. I guess he and his wife weren't bonding with each other. Anyways, yeah, that was some science history for you. Let's go back to talking about science topics that don't have to do with history. I can't believe it took me this long to talk about the periodic table. Man, I had an easier time memorizing the first 151 Pokemon than this bullshit. Ain't nobody out there or their mama over here memorizing hydrogen and helium and lithium, beryllium. Did he? My favorite element, yes, I have a favorite element, bear with me, is bromine. I know it's pronounced bromide, but I'm pronouncing it as bromine because it's funnier that way. Bromine. When I see $10 on the floor, bromine. I don't know anything about the actual element though. And also, I don't care if this element over here is pronounced argon, but I'm calling it agron anyways because it sounds similar enough. Also, it's funny. So some quizzes or tests be hitting me with that random, where is this element located in the periodic table? And it's just like gonna be some element that not a damn soul knows. Like, gang, what the f is a metanarium? Apparently Google doesn't even know what that is. What is the point of making an element if the properties of an element, such as the state of matter, is unknown? Like, were they even trying? The way they be coming up with names tells me otherwise. Why is this liquid metal called mercury? Ain't that the name of a planet? Hey, do you know what a place where people serve alcohol in space is called? A space bar? Why are they stealing its flow?
They copied my whole fucking flow! Word for word, bar for bar!
Or they need more elements to fill up the table and make it look more convoluted than it already would have been had it not been for these lackeys of elements. It's like they saw something that was a bit odd and were like, the properties do tend to differ from that of everything else we've encountered so far. Mayhaps it's a chemical reaction of some sort? Nay, it's a new element, a brand new addition to the table that I'm sure teenagers eons later will find nothing short of fascinating. And that's how we got like Moscovium. Hey, scientists going out of their way to find the most minute differences to justify a brand new addition to a wide catalog of collections sounds awfully similar to something they do with things us day-to-day folks actually do care about. Like animals. They're gonna find an animal, then that same animal, but with one minor difference anybody can miss and be like, nope, that is not the same species as the other. See, they are completely different. This one has no stripe, well that one does. What? Do you mean to tell me that it could be some kind of difference in genetics? Do you take me for a fool, you absolute naysayer? They are completely different in every which way. What part of that do you fail to comprehend? Yeah, that's why we have 13,000? 800? 20,000? How? How do we have 22,000 variation of ants? F***ing ants! This is just further proof of the point that I was making earlier. They just find the most minute details and make a new species out of it. Oh, they naturally breathe from their mouth instead of their nostrils? New species. Their favorite flavor of ice cream is chocolate, while the rest of the family's vanilla? New species. They didn't subscribe to Melissa Swegman? New species. Oh yeah, I think now's a good time to bring up alligators and crocodiles. Honestly, we should just call all of them crocodilians, instead of pretending that snapping lizard number 1 is an entirely different species than snapping lizard number 2. They're both big, boast a meaty bite force, swim in water, run faster than humans, and they're reptiles, among other similarities. The only differences were their snouts being different shapes, their habitat, and the fourth tooth of a crocodile, or whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. Oh, look at this. Look. If I broke all the teeth that pointed up on a crocodile and flattened its head to be a U-shape, did I just turn it into an alligator? Or did I just kill it? Maybe I'm just not tapped in like that. Maybe my mind is too simple and stupid to understand the intricacies of the need for two species that are basically the same animal with some minor differences. And this hurts me the most. My favorite animal is crocodile, and whenever they get brought up, it's usually with alligators. Like, whenever somebody makes a list of the most dangerous animals or whatever, they're like, number 15, alligators/crocodiles. The last thing you want to see in your Burger King burger, even if they only end up talking about one of the two, which is why we should just have made them one species to begin with. There are more examples, of course, but I think I've said enough. about the animals that should be one species, like red and Arctic foxes. They're different in their habitats and behavior, but they're not different species, and they're not treated as such. Now let's talk about the next thing about animals, being their names. Most animals have perfect names that fit them perfectly. Like when you hear the name cat, you think of this thing. When you hear bear, you think of this thing. When you think of dog, you think of this thing. Then human, the gorilla, Indominus Rex, the parrot, the panda. Well, many people think of this black and white pair as the original panda, but guess what? The red panda, even though they're not necessarily red per se, it's more like a darkish orange, but anyways, were discovered in 1825, while the giant panda was discovered in 1869. These absolute frauds made the whole world think that they were the original panda, and all they do is just sit on their fat asses and just eat bamboo instead of hunting like every other bear in existence. Oh, but their body developed a sixth thumb to purely eat bamboo. Like, yeah, pandas as a species just decided that hunting was too much effort, and we're like, you know what? Being a glorified sloth is the new meta. That's what I'm saying, bro. We should just make pandas go extinct. We should use this money to combat world hunger, or one of the many other problems in this world, instead of keeping these Down syndrome Oreos alive. Wait, hold on. We were talking about oh yeah, animal names. Some animal names don't really make sense. Like, why are we calling these guys killer whales? Like, I mean, yeah, they kill, but they're not whales, they're dolphins. There are some names out there that confirm a suspicion that I had about the scientists that were in charge of naming animals. Bro, these be some of the most immature, down bad people to ever work in the science industry. You see this bird right here? What name do you think they'd give it? Maybe something innocent like a finch? Maybe something pure like a robin? Maybe the great tit? Kudos to the mad lad who named an entire species after the name of a private part. Bro, me when I watch an 18+ rated anime. Hey, you guys wanna see some Japanese tit? Alright, enough about tits. Let me show you another animal that was cursed with a freaky name. It's a type of spider. Spiders are generally the type of animals nobody would want anywhere near them. They're scary, and they be building webs like they're implanting explosives to detonate when an intruder barges in or some shit. However, there is this peculiar minority of people who feel the opposite way when it comes to spiders. We call those people arachnophiles. Arachnophilia is when a person is infatuated or straight up loves spiders. That is what I believe the scientist who named the daddy longlegs had. I bet you some science lady was looking under the bed and then encountered one of these guys, and it walked all over her face, and unlike any sane person, she enjoyed that experience. She was over there panting, while murmuring to himself, "Daddy, long legs, and one of the scientists overheard her and was like, "Hey, word? We found a new species? We calling it that?" Noted. Hey, you know we like variety in this lab? Hey, so can I step on me too? Now I googled some more funny animal names, and here are my findings. The fried egg jellyfish. Yeah, I'm sure they just saw this and were like, yo, it kind of looks like fried eggs. Screaming hairy armadillo. They saw this and were like, hey, it screams, it's hairy, and it's an armadillo. Therefore, we will call it a screaming hairy armadillo. That's like if I saw Wally Warbles from Cuphead and was like, hey, it's blue, it's annoying, and it's a piece of shit. Pleasing fungus beetle. Ain't nothing pleasing about a beetle that eats fungi. I wonder who named this one. Boops Boops. Nigga. Boops Boops? How did they come up with this one? Did they just put a fish in a tank and they booped it twice and the other guy was like, genius! Like, bro, they're just making anything up. Common cockchafers. Ah yes, another insect that has the word cock in it. And the hellbender. The hellbender is just the big salamander that got its name because people back then thought that it came from the overworld and nobody decided to change it. No one was like, yo, this name sounds kind of outdated. We know that it didn't come from the underworld, so why are we still pretending that it did? Let's just call it something else. No, they were perfectly content with keeping the name as it was. I mean, I guess it sounds pretty dope. A much better name than Boops Boops. It's also better than the blue-footed booby. This animal has been catching some slack purely because for its name having a private part in it, just like the great tit. What is up with these birds having tits in their names? Like, it's happened twice, and there may just be more examples. There are also some funny scientific names, like the gorilla, whose scientific name is just Gorilla Gorilla. Hey guys, what scientific name are we going to give the gorilla? The gorilla? The gorilla? Okay, writing that down. Writing what down? And then there's the pigs, whose name is just Sus. Well, it's not funny anymore. If I mentioned this like 4 years ago, then people would be laughing their asses off. Alright, let's finish the science segment off by talking about cells. To this day, I can't tell you what all the functions of the organelles in a cell are. Hell, I can't even name all the organelles off of memory. Well, do you blame me? I'll be damned if I'm trying to figure out what job I want to get after college, but the thing my brain prioritizes is the Golgi.
Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
So yeah, organelles are well, useful to have, but not useful to know the existence of. Like, yeah, chlorophyll makes the plants green. Whoopity-doo. And my dog stepped on a bee, and I finished My Hero Academia Season 3, and I ate some spaghetti, but no ravioli, and the main villain of Half-Life 2 is Wallace Breen, and my favorite Dogman character was the cat PD.
And that guy over there really thinks he's Bruce Lee. Yo, get this.
Hey, yo, the pizza.
Do you know what the cell says when its sister stubs its toe? Ow! Mitosis! Speaking of mitosis... Actually, you know what? No, but let's just move on.
We'll begin the curl-ups now. Ready? Begin. Up.
The tone of this video may make you think that I'm just gonna trash talk and make a mockery out of every single school subject in existence, but for this subject, it's gonna be different. I actually really liked PE back when I was in elementary and still got a kick out of physical activities to this day. Bro, there was so much fun activities that also doubled as a great workout, such as push-up competitions, climbing ropes, that one ball thing that I like to bounce on. You know what I'm talking about. Sports, soccer, basketball, kickball, you get the gist. And my favorite of them all, the pacer test.
The Fitness Gram Pacer Test is a multi-stage
My favorite pacer test experience was the one I had back when I was in 5th grade, when I was doing the test alone. Well, we had like 3 gym classes in a week, and almost the entire class went on the first day, 3 students went out on the second, leaving me as the only one who got to go on the third. This, however, was a good thing for a 12-year-old me, because I got to show off in front of my whole school. Well, my whole 5th grade. I vividly remember walking to the other side of the gym when I was at the first few rounds. I wasn't even jogging like everyone else. I was straight up walking, like I was some Louis Vuitton model. Only after the first did I start jogging. My score was... I think 46. It was quite a respectable score. The other students, mainly the boys in my friend group, were absolute sweats, bro. They were getting like 60, 70, 75, and I think 75 was like the highest record anyone got in the school. I thought I was energetic. Nah, bro, I had nothing against them. Honestly, if I did the pacer test now, I might be able to get a higher score than my old score, not my friends. Ain't anybody getting 75 in this day and age. Then we also had some dance days where everybody would be dancing to some music on the speaker. You know, the macaroni, the Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nay Nay, or the Cha Cha Slide. If I had to say something I didn't like about PE, it would be that the other students were extremely unruly. Literally every day, the students would do something to piss the coach off. It kind of ruined my experience because it made me feel guilty for something I didn't take part in. No, I was just about to get into how dumb it was that the whole class could get punished even though some students were innocent, but I feel like that would stray too far away from the topic.
Luigi, what's that? Yeah, what is that? This is the male penis and testicle.
This subject used to be paired with PE. They were treated as counterparts to each other, but ever since I started doing school virtually, these two felt like they were drifting further and further away into their own things. PE kind of just vanished out of existence, and health was the subject about how a human body works. Well, I already know everything I need to know about the male and female human bodies from that one Nintendo 6 Ed video with the funny sounding Luigi.
Informazione! Hello, Mario. Hello, I'm Luigi.
So I was basically set from the start. There were like a few things that caught me a bit off guard, but for the most part, it was fine, you know. Working out makes you gain muscles. True or false? That's basically like the type of questions that they gave me in the first few units. Today's lesson will focus on how we are born. That line goes crazy without context. Anyways, yeah, I learned a bit more than the surface level of how people are born. So basically, the sperm and the egg point their fingers at each other and yell at the top of their lungs, "Fusion!" and form a zygote. Yeah, something like that. Also, I learned about STDs, like HIV and AIDS, and how some are curable and some aren't. What is an STD with no cure?
Did you mean, what is an STD without cure?
This is why I'm making I Hate Google Part 2. It's happening. Sometime down the line, I'm gonna do it. Also, the subject mainly focuses about physical health and not mental health. Biggie Cheese walks in.
What's up, guys? It's Biggie Cheese.
Sir, this is a suicide prevention.
Guys, welcome to my beginner's programming tutorial. We're going to create a simple program. Alright, first we're going to type in public class program, then public static void main string args. You know how it goes. Alright, and then I'm going to copy and paste this giant chunk of code. What this does is it makes your computer do stuff. Put that in your program and then compile and execute it, and there we go. We've created mine.
It's probably the hardest subject for me, but it's not my least favorite. Sure, I had no idea what I was doing most of the time, but when I did, Felt like a genius, even if that moment lasted for only 30 seconds. The thing I hate the most about computer science is how you have to be 100% exact, on the mark, perfect, clear as crystal day, and stainless like a stainless steel pan, or your whole code is wrong. The difference could literally be that you forgot to capitalize the letter S in the word string in line 37, and the coding language would be like, what is that? String? With lowercase s? Huh? What does that even mean? Huh? Is that a new variable? You didn't even define. Not to mention all the different methods and parameters and constructions and everything else they had us memorizing. Like, okay, cool. I know how to use an if-else statement. Does that mean I'm slightly more set for life than I already wasn't? No, of course not. I still have no idea what I'm doing, but neither does anyone. People are kind of just pretending that they got everything figured out. Yeah, that's the truth, kids. We're all lost. But hey, we still got each other. Yeah? Shonen protagonist looking ass. And just like every other subject, it finds a way to get worse because eventually, at some point, you have to start doing assignments with 5 different tabs they have to complete all from scratch.
Psych!
AP Computer Science, try not to make me want to kill myself challenge. Impossible. And what doesn't help is that any piece of media ever makes hacking look so much easier and cooler than it actually is.
You said hacking server number 7? Alright, I'm on it. Alright. You trust me? Okay. Alright. Let's get to hacking. That was too easy.
The funniest thing about this is that people usually envision hackers as cool and mysterious, while gamers are just seen as hunched up neckbeards who don't go outside or shower, when in reality, it's basically the opposite.
Hey there, our first Martian. What's your first impression of the planet Earth here? What'd you have for breakfast this morning?
A subject that's dedicated to humans talking to each other. How useful. I've always struggled with understanding topics. This is like the perfect class for me. Bro, the subject kind of blows. I expected it to be much more useful than this. The entirety of the subject is just, what is it called when people talk within their own group? Internal conversation. It's just telling me names of forms of communications that I don't and never needed and most probably won't need to retain, because speech is speech. If I'm talking to somebody outside of my friend group, I'm not going to be thinking to myself, oh god, I'm partaking in external communication? Or like, bro, who does? When I took human communication, I was expecting to be a better communicator, and by the way I talk, I think I'm still a terrible communicator. I want to have more things to say when somebody says something instead of me just blanking out. If I'm making plans with someone, I want to be able to cooperate successfully with them instead of accidentally leaving some information out, thus leaving them hanging. But I guess I did end up learning something. I learned that there are some skills that are best taught by yourself. There are some things that people are naturally meant to learn as they grow. A good example of this would be content creation. I've been doing YouTube for 5 years, and look where that got me. I can assure you that I was not this good of a YouTuber back in 2020.
Just put on the shirt like the most natural way.
Man, that was such an embarrassment.
I'm literally 2 seconds away from dying.
An expressed struggle between at least 2 independent parties who perceive incompatible goals, scarce resources, and interference from the other party in achieving their goals is the definition of... Correct answer, conflict.
Going so fast now, the moment of truth. We were born to make history. We'll make it happen. We'll turn it around. Yes, we were born to make history.
I saved this one for last because, boy, I have a lot to say about this. Well, I guess this implies that I didn't have a lot to say about the other subject. Anyways, this is my least favorite subject, and kinda always has been. I didn't hate it back in elementary, but that's because 5th grade was the last year school taught me anything about stuff people actually need to know about the past. Stuff like George Washington was the first president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln abolished slavery, Martin Luther King Jr. made the I Have a Dream speech, George Washington Carver made peanut butter, Franklin D. Roosevelt got America through the Great Depression, Rosa Parks stood up, well, I guess sat down, against racism, and Joseph Stalin was out there stalling on them home, among other examples, of course, but like, you get the idea. After elementary, they just started scooping every bit of history from every time period and shoving it down students' throats, expecting them to care, and here I am, ready to express all my bottled-in anger towards having to be taught so much information that I don't and won't need. Well, I don't need the information that I gain from entertainment media like anime, but at least I get something, which is entertainment. Also, entertainment can also be educational. It isn't always, or mostly, but when it is, the information doesn't leave. And also, it's more information that I use in my day-to-day life than the information that I gain from school, let alone history. High school, and I guess a little bit of middle school too, history is something that I can't say the same about. Why do I need to know any of the information they give? I'm not gonna have to remember who Genghis Khan is, because nobody cares about Genghis Khan anymore. Yeah, sure, he was important back in 600 BCE or whatever the f this guy was around, but he's not now. Why do people still have to be crammed with knowledge about his legacy and his empire and his army like it had any meaning or impact today? His empire fell because it grew too big? Okay? Rimbozo. So anyways, I think I'm gonna focus on other subjects now. No, well, I say that, but usually that means I'm just gonna procrastinate and watch anime or something. I can give one less shit about the Great Schism of 1054 and how the church was split into the East and West churches. I don't even go to church. I can give one less shit about the Germanic peoples and the Franks and the Visigoths and the Saxons. Hey! And how they banded together to form Germany or something. I can give one less shit about the early American civilizations, the Mesoamericans and the Adians, not to be confused with the Indians, and how they existed until the 1500s. I can give one less shit about the Mayan Empire and how they had 3 city-states, Teotihuacan and Tikal. I can give one less shit about the Europeans who explored overseas for spices by people such as Vasco da Gama and Mr. We'll get to you later, Christopher Columbus. I can give one less shit about the Oyo Empire and what language they spoke. I can give one less shit about Olada Equiano and how he looks like Tyler the Creator. I discuss some fresh lemons with the sugar headers. I can give one less shit about King Louis the 16th or King Charles III or King Henry the 4th or... Matter of fact, I don't really care about any of these kings. I can give one less shit about Napoleon and how he started the French Revolution because, let's be real, Napoleon was not that guy. That's why he got folded by the Russians. I can give one less shit about the Burgers? The Boulders? The Blastos? The Borgio aka the middle class. See, they could have just said that. Why did they need to make a new word that was this hard to say? Like, they're just making this subject harder on purpose, as if I needed another reason not to want to do the subject anymore. I can give one less shit about the Kremlin. Wait, I actually do care about this, and I happen to know quite a lot. The Kremlin is a crocodile species from the Donkey Kong franchise, led by King K. Rool. Wait, what? What do you mean? I'm talking about Kremlings. In history, it's the Kremlin without the G? Without the G? Hold on, let me search this up. Oh. 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 Yeah, I'm an idiot. Lol. Anyways, I can give one less shit about Patris, Emery, Lulumba, or... Okay, I think that's enough. Actually, no, I have one less example. I saved this one for last because all these events and people I mentioned were stuff that I, personally, could not be bothered to care more than 10% about. But what I'm about to talk about is a lot worse than all the others. I'm talking about the Aztec Empire. The Aztec Empire was formed by the Mexicans who were on a voyage to build their empire somewhere where they could be unbothered by other empires. They found themselves in a desert and were like, yo, this seems like a pretty good place to build our empire, right? And the others were like, yeah, dude, 'tis genius. I tried to sound like Mordecai. So they had the bright idea to build their empire specifically where this eagle nest was. Yeah, they just evicted the eagle from this cactus and were like, our territory now, bitch! And built the empire there. The reason why they did this was even worse. They were told to do this by the god of their religion. Huitzilopochtli? No, I got it wrong. Huitzilopochtli? Huitzilopochtli? Who is it? Huitzilopochtli?
Huitzilopochtli.
They built the first city of their empire, Tenochtitlan. Then they got their first king named Akampichitl. Man, I hate these names, bro. This is what I wrote in my notes about Akampichitli. He married a woman, which is surprising because no woman in their right mind is marrying a man with a name like that. And dang, I was savage. I did not hold back. Well, I still don't. Yeah, that's the end of what I wrote. I don't want this entire segment to just be, I can give one less shit about this. Even though that's how I feel towards a majority of history that's taught in school. Honestly, history isn't really that bad when I'm learning about it through my own curiosity. Speaking of curiosity, the sponsor of this video, Curiosities. Actually, that's how everything goes. things are just more engaging and make me want to learn more about them when I'm not forced to learn about it like I am in school. I probably would have been much more intrigued to learn about Mao Zedong if I found out about him on my own and learned about everything he's done on my own. And to people saying, well, if school isn't going to teach you about these historical figures, then how would you have heard of them in the first place without randomly stumbling upon them? To which I say, I never needed to know about them at all. Are we going to flex our history knowledge to the simpletons who don't know about the legendary tale of Mao Zedong? Yeah, that's what I thought. Someone out there is probably going to be like, we learn history so that history doesn't repeat itself. Or like it doesn't do that anyways. It's literally how every time period goes. People get together to form a group. They build societies and make their own advancements. Some societies want other societies stuff for themselves. The other society disagrees. They go to war. The societies that weren't involved initially are now involved and aid one of the two sides. The war gets even worse. The war ends with one of the two sides' lands being completely ended.
Boom.
The losers clean up and are forced to pay a whole lot of money, while the winners get to tell the tale in their own narrative of how they emerged victorious. Repeat. People say so history doesn't repeat itself, like me and the boys are about to repeat the Boston Tea Party or something. Also, the teachers at school really like to make it seem like the people who did good were entirely good people that did no wrong. This is what we call the halo effect. Just because someone does something really good does not make them a good person. Like an example of this being the guy who created Rurouni Kenshin, Nobuhiro Watsuki. He, well, created Rurouni Kenshin, but also got arrested for having 100 DVDs of CP. CP not standing for Club Penguin or Cheese Pizza or the thing from Pokemon Go. I think you can figure this out. This happens way more often than you realize, and it's because school only teaches you one side of the story, and here I am to tell you the other side. Well, not the entire other side, but like some examples. Okay, let's start off with Christopher Columbus. He was highly praised for revolutionizing expeditioning for everyone all across the world. But he and his men also used to beat women, among other things they used to do to said women, and take all the Taínos people's stuff and enslave them and turn them into their property. Yeah, they try to make it seem like Christopher Columbus was like some good person or something. Yeah, that's why they changed Columbus Day into Indigenous Peoples Day. Another person who only has the good part told to everyone while the bad part is hidden is Thomas Edison. You know how when you're playing a multiplayer game and do a majority of the damage to the boss and some other dude comes in and finishes the boss off and gets all the credit? Yeah, that kill thief is basically Thomas Edison in a nutshell. The guy made people work in a sweatshop environment and slapped his name onto other people's works like they had any right to. Okay, maybe that's not entirely accurate. More like, he watched people work on experiments and see them fail, make a few changes, and then claim the whole thing from the beginning to end as his own. Yeah, this guy's kind of a prick. Then we have John F. Kennedy. Now, I'm not going to undermine what he did, because, you know, his bringing America together was truly something great. What wasn't great, though, was this little thing he had going on the side. As he was being entrusted with the role of leader, he had ties with women that had ties with criminals. That alone would be bad enough, but two things made this worse. Number one, he's the president of the United States. He should have been setting a better example for his people than this. Number two, he was doing this during an extremely tense situation where there were many other things he needed to be focused on, such as the Cuban Missile Crisis or the civil rights. He basically betrayed the trust of everyone who looked up to presidents as people who always did the right things. Yeah, that's why he got 360 no-scope. This one is gonna sting, like, a lot of you. Dr. Seuss, the man who wrote books about the equality and accepting one another, was actually insanely racist towards the Japanese Americans back in the days. Oh, the irony. Get it? Because it's an E that's iron. Anyways, that's not the worst thing he's done. His wife, who loved and trusted him with all her heart, was in critical condition, and unlike a good husband, Seuss decided to simply get with another woman instead of staying with her until the end of her life. After his first wife was left like a lizard's tail, she wrote a heartbroken note and then ended her life. Bro, imagine you were a wife who was in critical condition, and your husband just left you and was like, yeah, the save file is corrupted, let me just start a new one. To think that this was the same guy who made Green Eggs and Ham. There are more examples of people who did something great but weren't great or even good people at all, but by now I think you get it. Let me just say now that I'm not undermining any of these people's achievements because that'd be stupid and missing the whole point of this segment. They did great things, but they weren't great people. I would have never known this if it wasn't for videos about them being recommended to me on YouTube. However, this also applies to bad people. Just because people who are known for doing bad things doesn't simply mean that all things they did were bad. They're still bad people, but they're also still human. Humans do bad and good things. That's just how it is. The first example of a bad person who did something good was Joseph Stalin. He was basically the big dog of the Soviet Union and one person that most people didn't want beef with. He sent millions of his own citizens to labor camps and conquered others with fear. What they don't tell you, though, is that he basically transformed the Soviet Union from a poor, illiterate society into an absolute powerhouse, only second to the US. The life expectancy also doubled during his reign, and that wasn't even his greatest accomplishment. Nah, that would be his victory against the Nazis in the Great Patriotic War. Speaking of Nazis, next up is Adolf Hitler. Hitler is no doubt a bad guy, despite what a certain man in black mask would lead you to believe.
That's right. You're not Hitler. You're not a Nazi. You don't deserve to be called that and demonized.
Well,
Nah, but at that point, wrap it up. If someone tells you that you don't love Nazis, and you say, well, then it's over. Anyways, back to Hitler. I don't think there's anything I need to tell you about the bad things this guy did that hasn't been told already. Like, he started the Holocaust, he was racist against Jews, and he was overall a cruel and selfish dictator with close to zero redeeming qualities. He, however, did two undeniably good things. Well, probably more, but like, two that come to mind. The first thing was that he supported animal rights. Oh, the irony. He was completely against animal cruelty and wasn't afraid to show it. It was kind of bizarre that he treated animals like people and people like animals. The other good thing that Hitler did was that he killed Hitler, so that's two good things. Anyways, next is Mao Zedong. It feels only right that I'd finally talk about this guy after mentioning him like 3 times already. He may have been responsible for the genocide resulting in millions of people's deaths, but he also started the Chinese Revolution, which turned China from a beat-up shack into the wonderful tourist attraction it is now. He also wrote many beautiful poems that moved people to this day. Well, not physically moved them, but like emotionally moved them. You know what I mean by moved. Benito Mussolini, why does this photo of him kind of look like The Rock? May have been a dictator of fascist Italy who was behind the death of millions of people, a genocide just like Hitler and the other dictators, but he also wrote poetry like Zedong. He also said Pusketi that one time, and I think that's hilarious. Pusketi! Yeah, I said that. What are you gonna do, cancel me? That didn't exist yet, boy. Last up is Al Capone, the OG of OGs. Before we had people like Pablo Escobar, we had Al Capone. He was the mastermind behind the underground alcohol industry back when the US tried to ban alcohol. He killed many people, made hella illegal money, and even had a kick-ass nickname, Scarface, that he got from a scar he received from a fight. He also got expelled from school at age 14. As for the good, he uses illegal money to buy food to feed the needy. He established kitchens where they could eat food for free while they focused their own money on other necessities. The point of this whole latter segment is that people are people no matter what they do. Good people do bad things, and vice versa. Nobody is entirely good and no one is entirely bad. We're all human. We make mistakes. We sin. That's just how it is. This is what schools should be teaching us, but doesn't. Actually, no one taught me this. I had to learn all this on my own. Among other stuff that schools should be teaching their students by default. Also, I'm not saying that everyone should be treated the same and we should all live happily ever after. If only it were that simple. The people who did good should still be praised for their positive contributions, but shouldn't be treated like saints. The people who did bad should still be shunned for their negative detriments to everyone else, but shouldn't be treated like devils. If someone hasn't told you this already, then let me be the first. Life ain't black and white. Life ain't black and white. There's a little bit, actually a lot, of gray areas in between. The world makes it seem like you have to pick a side. You are either a Democrat or a Republican, making life seem so one-sided and dull. You don't have to pick a side. You can simply be neutral, like me. Well, my whole take on this is that I don't know what either a Democrat or a Republican is, and I couldn't be bothered to do my research about it. Basically, just do you, bro. That's the whole takeaway. Do what makes you happy. Unless it's genocide. I don't think I write good poetry is gonna save you. So yeah, that's the school subject video. Hope you enjoyed this video because I sure did. It feels really good letting all my feelings out and be known to the world. It just gives me this sense of relief. Nonetheless, I've been Melissa Swegman, and now I'm traveling somewhere far away.
Abayo.